Hello, family. How you doing? Startup stories from the trenches. So it is October 2024. My co-founder called me and said, "Hey, I need you to be in London in a week. There's this AI hackathon that we have to be at. We're going to pull off this guerrilla marketing stunt." One major problem: I didn't have a car to even get to the airport. We had booked a flight out of Atlanta, which is 3 hours from where I live, and I share a car with my wife and was like, how am I going to get there? Intern pipes up and is like, hey, I can drive us. I was like, sounds great. And we end up, his car broke down and he was like, hey, we're going to take my grandma's 94 Lexus, and picked up the other intern, made it to London finally, stayed in this 36-person mansion in downtown London, executed a guerrilla marketing campaign, and learned so much stuff that I'm right about to share with you. So it is October 2024, and had raised about $800,000 in funding like a year ago, and we had burned through a decent amount of that cash. So we weren't like super flush, but we had enough to pull something like this off, but we needed to save money. So we couldn't fly out of where I live in, which is a medium-sized town. It was going to save us a lot of money if I could drive 3 hours to Atlanta and get a cheaper flight from Atlanta to London. But my wife and I share a car, and I am super lean entrepreneur mode. I don't spend a ton of money. And so we had one vehicle at the time and didn't know how I was going to get there. And one of our interns says, hey, I'll drive us. And so I show up at his house. He lives with his parents. And he was like, hey, my truck broke down. We're going to take my grandma's 94 Lexus to Atlanta. And that was what we did. Picked up the other intern and just bumbled down the road and made it there just fine, and flew from Atlanta to London. And then we get there, and we had booked a 36-person mansion in 36 capacity. I don't know. It might have been like 10 bedrooms, 8 I don't know. It was little dormitories. And it was in the Quay of London, Quay. Some British person's going to be like, it is pronounced Quay, Hunter. But we stayed there in downtown London. And what we offered to our users was to have like free accommodation. We were like, hey, we're going to rent this gigantic building in downtown London. If you want to come to the Mistral AI hackathon, you can come stay with us. And so the hackathon itself was being put on by Mistral. They were launching Pixtral, which was their first multimodal LLM. The whole big shebang was that it could take in images. That was like a big deal at the time. I think OpenAI might have been the only provider to like be able to take multimodal input, but multimodal was like a big deal in October 2024. And so they threw this hackathon to get people to build with it. And so we wanted to engage more with our users in the EU and the UK. And we said, hey, you all can come stay free and we'll all go to the hackathon together. And it was heavily suggested that you should wear some chip swag. And so instead of packing lots of nice clothes so that I had a comfortable stay in London, I packed very little clothes and stuffed a bunch of chip swag in my bags and showed up with lots of chip swag and was just passing it out. And didn't say you had to wear it, but it's kind of like, hey, if you want to show a nice gesture for the free accommodation, wear the chip swag to the hackathon. And we show up, get to the hackathon, and people were shocked that we had come so far. I met a lot of people who were like, oh, I just lived down the street and came here because there was nothing to do this weekend. And it was a lot of fun. People were very shocked we had come all the way from the US to just attend that hackathon that weekend. And what we ended up building, if you are familiar with AI at all, and if you are not, subscribe to this channel for my YouTube folks, because I'm going to be doing a lot more content on AI tutorials. So AI is able to take in multiple different types of input. Images are one of those types of input. And what AI is like exceptionally good at is taking a very squishy, unstructured type of data and turning it into structured data. So, for example, taking something like very poorly structured user input, like a customer support chat, or a chat on a website or something like that, and turning it into a structured lead. So inbound lead generation is a very fantastic use case for AI and LLMs in particular. So my thought was, hey, why don't we facilitate the use case where somebody who is like renting an apartment is getting ready to move and they need a moving quote. They need a quote from a moving company for the cost of the move. At the time, I was moving a lot, and that was a problem I'd encountered quite a bit. And so I wanted somebody to be able to take a bunch of photos of their apartment and then have the LLM turn it into what is called a pack list, essentially figure out what all the items were in those rooms, and take that pack list and then generate a moving quote for it for like a cost of a quote. That didn't have to be precise. I think we all know that AI is not precise in many instances, but it could be a range. It could be like, $500 to $1,500 that would have to be approved by a human, and wanted to then resell that to moving companies. So that is what I built with Pixtral, and we got absolutely destroyed. We didn't place in anything. There is apparently a group of people who make the rounds of AI hackathons, and they like really game the system and really try to win. The guy who won actually used the Pixtral model to take photos of a robot arm and issue a set of commands to the robot arm to allow it to pick up a cup that was sitting next to it. And he did that by analyzing the images, and he ended up winning. And the other ones that ended up winning had like really flashy intros, and they like had 3D visualizations but didn't work, which was like pretty frustrating that they had these flashy visualizations, but like my thing actually worked. It worked. It produced a scoped lead, but that wasn't the point of the hackathon. The point was like pure marketing material. So anyways, we didn't win, but it was very, very informative, and it like helped us build relationships with our users who were like kind of engaged with our product beforehand. But when we had like met them in person, took them out to dinner, gave them lodging, right, for the hackathon, it was much, much, much stickier of a relationship after that. And the other thing is I didn't really fully understand how LLMs process information before I attended this hackathon, because in 5 minutes before the hackathon started, members of the Mistral AI team got up on stage and showed us very, very simply one of the most beautiful, simple explanations of how LLMs process information that I've ever seen, where they showed how text gets converted to something called a semantic vector. It's just like a list of numbers. And they also showed how you can take images and convert images to a list of numbers. And if you can convert both text and images to a list of numbers, you can compare them and do similar semantic, relevancy operations on them. And so I came from a traditional computer science background. I'd taken linear algebra as part of my university degree, but other than the linear algebra, I didn't really have classical artificial intelligence training. And so that just brief explanation really, really, really solidified for me how LLMs process media beyond just text. And that was a compounding insight as we continued to build Chip. And so we didn't win the hackathon, but learned an incredible amount that I will continue sharing in this series. So for my YouTube folks, please subscribe. And for my LinkedIn folks, please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe there. But look forward to talking to y'all more about the startup war stories. More of these are going to be coming out. And if you are interested in just a super easy AI agent platform that will allow you to quickly and easily deploy AI agents for your business, head on over to chip.ai and sign up and drop into Slack. And you can talk to me personally. And I'd love to chat all things AI with you.